And I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we'll let more folks in as they join. But hi, I'm Allie. I'm a content strategist on the UX team at the University of Arizona Libraries, and I'm also an organizer with UX at UA. And we're really excited to have an amazing panel today to talk about all things from building an amazing case study to thinking about the role of AI in design. And we have three amazing speakers that I can't wait to introduce you to. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go over a couple of background information about UX at UA, community guidelines, introduce the speakers, and then we'll get started with the conversation. And if someone else wouldn't mind admitting other folks to the waiting room, anyone who is on UX at UA, that would be super helpful.
You can do that.
Thanks. So UX at UA is organized by several people who work in UX in different roles at the University of Arizona and also in the broader Tucson community. So a lot of folks come together to make these events happen and are also available to reach out and chat about UX at UA. And we have several ways to get in touch with us. And I believe Brittany's going to be sharing these resources in the chat so you can bookmark them and access them. We have our website, uxua.arizona.edu, that has all of our upcoming events and ways to get in touch with us. You can always reach out to us via email. You can find upcoming events and keep in touch with us on our Meetup account. We also have LinkedIn that we also post and share events and updates. We also have a Slack group where you can request feedback on any of your projects, get to know other UX folks in Tucson and also outside of the Tucson community, and stay up to date on what we're planning. And then you can also follow us on social media on Instagram and also connect with us on Friends of Figma if you're in that group. We also have community guidelines that we encourage you to take a deeper look at and to keep in mind today for the conversation. So we're committed to providing safe and inclusive experiences for everyone. So everyone here agrees to practice empathy, be kind to one another, show respect, follow the rules, and also be an ally. And you can read our full guidelines at the URL that is posted there and also should shortly be in the chat. We also, if you're curious about learning what UX can look like and being a part of UX research, the UX Libraries team consistently sends out different UX research case studies to our participant pool, anything from card sorting to first click testing. You can always give us feedback on the library website. If you'd like to sign up to see our studies, you can sign up at the following link. It only takes a minute. We also have several mentors that you can connect with and sign up to meet with, so you can see our full list of mentors who have a range of experience in UX, both at the University of Arizona and also in industry, and feel free to connect with anyone on that list. If you're new to UX or just want to level up your UX research skills, we also host and create the UX Cookbook, which has a lot of how-to tips and tools about UX research and is a great guide to learn new UX research methods, and we highly encourage you to take a look. And that's all of the housekeeping and sort of different pieces of information that UX at UA is involved with. But we also wanted to see if anyone else had clarifying questions or announcements they wanted to bring to the group before we get started with our speakers.
I have a quick announcement. So the UX team, the user experience team at the University of Arizona Libraries is hiring a UX designer. So this is going to be an opportunity to work on a cool team that includes Ali, Leonardo, who's also in this group, and myself. And it's going to be working at the library, which is the coolest place in the world. So I'm going to be dropping the link in chat. You'll be applying through Talent, which is the U of A's career website. And you can also reach out to me if you have any questions. I think that's my announcement.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob.
Since we're on that train, I'm looking to hire a student worker. So if you know any students who are interested in writing and social media at the University of Arizona, they do have to be an undergraduate student. I would love to get some great recommendations. So I'm going to drop that in the chat as well in case anyone has anyone to share that with. So thanks.
Cool. Yeah, come work with all the people here. It's great. Anything else? All right. Great. So we have three amazing speakers with us today who are going to chat about a lot of different things. I'm going to invite each of them to introduce themselves, and then we'll take a second to learn a little bit more about the company that they're a part of, and then we'll transition into our conversation today. So Kai, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please go for it.
Hey, thank you, Ali. Yeah, so excited to be here today. I'm Kai. I'm from Austin, Texas, currently in San Francisco, co-founder of Sprintfolio, and a UX designer with over 10 years of experience in a lot of different industries like gaming, ed tech, IT, and insurance. I considered myself a multimedia designer for many years and delved into UX last year. I just really love how interdisciplinary this field is, and just being really empowered by being able to apply science to design. I have a deep interest in edtech, Web3, AI, all the new things. Thanks for having me here. Really happy to be here.
Yeah, great. And Rebecca.
Oh, you're muted, Rebecca.
It wouldn't be a talk if someone didn't try to speak and they were muted. So I'm glad it was me.
It's okay. It's a part of the
Rebecca.
Go
I
ahead.
am a UX designer and co-founder of Sprintfolio. I have over 10 years of professional experience working primarily in startup settings within Web3, nonprofits, and tech. Before becoming a UX designer, I spent time leading creative teams, and I moved into UX because I wanted to create better experiences in the Web3 space. Super excited to be here with you guys and get to kind of talk about AI and all that fun stuff.
Well, great. And I also should have mentioned before, all of their LinkedIn handles are below, so please feel free to connect and reach out to folks after the talk as well. And we'll finish with Angie.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Angie. I'm a UX designer and co-founder of Sprintfolio. I have a background in public health where I serve as a rural community health advisor with the Peace Corps in Benin in West Africa. And afterwards, I worked at the Department of Health in South Florida. I really love learning new things, and I love to make a real impact on others, which led me to transition into UX design. So I'm really excited to be here and to talk about that journey.
Cool. Thank you. We're so excited to learn from all of you. And just, yeah, thank you again so much for being here. And I can't wait to learn more about your backgrounds and your current work. And the last thing, I also wanted to highlight their current role at Sprintfolio, so you can check them out at this URL. And Kai, do you want to share more about what you guys do and why people should check you out?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a Web3 design agency, and we've had the practice of linking up junior designers with real client work through this process. We're also building the largest network of designers specialized in Web3 and AI. So if you're interested in being part of the network, check out our website. There's a little link at the top to apply to be a designer with us.
Cool. Awesome. I'm sure we'll learn more about it as we talk as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, so I'll stop sharing my screen in just a second and transition just to us getting to talk. So the UX at UA team has developed a couple of questions for our panel to get this started. As we chat, and as a question comes up for you, you can drop it in the chat anytime while we're talking. Brittany, one of the UX at UA organizers, is going to be collecting questions from the chat. And then at the end of the prepared questions, we'll open it up to questions from the audience. So feel free to drop your question when you think of it in the chat, but we'll return to it after we work through some of the prepared questions. And then we'll also have time for final thoughts and to share opportunities for feedback from the team as well. So any other clarifying questions or anything I can address before we transition? All right, so let me stop sharing my screen and pull up my questions. All right, so our first question, we'll start with Kai for this one. You all have such diverse backgrounds and are now working together as co-founders at Sprintfolio. How have you developed and maintained your entrepreneurial mindset throughout your career?
That's a really good question. Thank you. So Sprintfolio is really the first business that I've ever made. But I think the entrepreneurial mindset really embodies curiosity and the need to learn continuously. I've done a lot of different career pivots. I worked in game cinematics, insurance. I think that entrepreneurial spirit was like trying to claw out of me. I'm someone that is willing to try new things, start over. And that's kind of what startup life is, like being a mad scientist, tinkering, being okay with failure, starting over and learning from it and keep on going. Yeah.
Awesome. Rebecca or Angie, do you have anything else you want to add?
I mean, I think you kind of hit all the points, but I'll say, like, recently I was reading a book called The Innovation Stack, and the author describes the entrepreneur as a fearless explorer, right? So when I think about my experience, very similar to Kai, I've tried a lot of different things, and I've been able to like bring that experience across the different fields. And it lights up that fire in you to be an entrepreneur, to take those chances, to keep exploring, try to find new solutions to new problems. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was reading Phil Knight's new like memoir, the co-founder of Nike, and he was saying that, you know, he failed a lot, but he had to try a lot of new things. So you just have to get comfortable doing that and just fail fast, do it quick, learn from it, keep moving forward. And it's pretty much a never-ending learning curve, but it will get you to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the never-ending learning curve is a really good reminder on a Thursday evening of what happened. Tomorrow's Friday, and we come back and try again on Monday. And I know before people joined us, you all mentioned that there was a story behind you all coming together to form Sprintfolio. So how did you each had your own entrepreneurial spirits, but how did it come together as a shared vision?
Yes. I'm happy to answer that. So it's a pretty cool story. So the three of us joined Miami Hack Week in February of this year, 2023. We weren't in the same teams, but we joined the very first live UX design-a-thon. After the hackathon was over, we stayed in touch. We joined Build Space Nights and Weekend program, which is a 6-week program that's remote. And we started working on an idea. And the idea was to team up developers and designers to work on real projects for their portfolios, right? And this was coming from the three of us knowing firsthand the struggles that a junior UX designer was facing coming into the job market. From there, we were selected from 5,700 people to join Build Space's very first live cohort in San Francisco. And the three of us went to San Francisco from different places around the United States. And for the very first time, we got to work alongside each other. It was a really incredible experience. We learned so much. And we iterated on this idea so many times. Ultimately, we knew we wanted to create a space where we could compensate our UX designers, where there was a community that had accountability, where we could help them get the jobs that they wanted, those dream jobs, right? It wasn't just about, you know, working somewhere just to make ends meet, but like build the things that light up that fire inside you. And we iterated a lot, and ultimately we landed being a UX design agency so that we are able to compensate the designers. And furthermore, now we're working on building in a product that will allow designers to create case studies 10 times faster with AI. And we're super excited to kind of get that rolling. We're getting ready to send it out to our community. We have over 550 designers in our community. So we're going to do some user testing with them, of course, first, and get some feedback and iterate on it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing. I think I just joined the UX field 2 or 3 years ago. And as someone making that transition, there's not a lot of support spaces to feel like you're an emerging designer or content or a researcher and to really get that support, let alone be compensated for it. So I really feel like supporting junior designers or emerging designers is a really big gap in our industry. And it's great to to see you all considering that. So, and yeah, the job market is rough right now. So just another piece of it. Our next question is transitioning more into case studies, and especially for people who are developing a portfolio for the first time or thinking how they can capture their experience or write it in an effective way. What's a case study that you all have seen recently that stood out to you, and can you tell us more about why? And we'll start with Angie this time.
Yeah, we have one of our Sprintees or designers from Sprintfolio is working on a case study with Brushna Games, which is pretty much like the Canva of gaming. And they basically made a quick game maker and positioned themselves as creating a library for these games for the company. And they pretty much jumped into the case study just 2 weeks in. So it just took 2 weeks for them to create that. And that just pretty much relates to how UX is in real life, that you just basically take when you're working with a client, you go in and you could be in either like the iterating task or in the research space, and you just delve right in. Kai can explain it better because she basically was in charge of that case study. So you could go ahead.
Oh,
I also, really quick, I thought it might be good to step back and do a quick clarifying question. Can you offer a quick definition of what a case study is and what some of the main components are for folks that might be new to that term?
yeah, a case study is basically you're tackling a design problem. It doesn't have to be a design problem, it could be any problem, but you implement the solution through design. And so a case study goes through the design thinking process, and there's many different frameworks. So yeah, it's kind of like, here's your design and here's your design thinking that goes with it, and the steps that you've taken and the research that you've used to justify the decisions that you've made through design.
Great, thank you. Yeah, no, that's perfect. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I know you were going to build upon what Angie was saying as well.
Oh, no problem. I think she froze for a bit, so I was like, what's going on? Yes, I worked closely with that team, and basically Dominique's case study stood out to me because he was able to listen to the client and work on the project without going through each step. I think a lot of beginners, they will go through like a Coursera or a Google certification, and they feel compelled to go by it step by step. But sometimes the client isn't going to give you that time, or you don't have the data to do it. So he was able to tell like a really good story for that project. And I would say a quick hack for being able to do that is your title headers. If you keep it clinical, like here's the objective, here's the discovery, here's me defining the project, here's the competitive research, that's super boring. And it's just a sure tell way that you're a beginner. Like a recruiting manager will be like, okay, this person is like new. So think about, how can I summarize what I've learned to the essence? And how do I make it intriguing? How do I get the reader to want to read more? Being able to take a lot of data and synthesize it into like one sentence is a skill. Something that I definitely encourage people to practice. Like, think about it like you're a movie director. Like, what's the name of this movie for this paragraph?
Yeah, I like that you're thinking about almost principles of UX writing in your portfolios too, like making sure that people can get what you're talking about, but that it's still concise and clear while also being creative. And yeah, and encouraging folks to really highlight their role in the project. I think sometimes people focus much on the project that their role gets lost. I've noticed that when I'm reviewing case studies. I'm like, well, I want to know about you and what you contributed. And I don't know if you've seen that. Rebecca, you're nodding. Have you seen that before too?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think like the case studies that stand out to me the most are the ones that like really give you insights onto the decisions behind the design, right? So they're like I was saying, it's not just like, here are my wireframes, here are my lo-fi wireframes, right? They go into and explain like, based on the findings, like the users really want to see the information this way, and I felt like this was how I represented it, and they go like really into detail into those things. and it becomes this beautiful story that's really fun to read, right? Because case studies are so dense. They can be so like just heavy with information. So when you come across someone that was able to kind of leverage storytelling in a way that takes you through the process and keeps you excited about it, it sticks out in your mind.
No, that's really helpful. And building on that, I know you already have hinted at advice, but is there any, like, the biggest advice that you would give someone who's working on a case study for the first time? What would you encourage them to focus on?
I think for me, I would say start. And I know that sounds really simple, but when I was building my first case study, I was very overwhelmed. It felt like such a big undertaking, right? I just finished this project and I had to like go back and pull everything together, and I wasn't sure how to do it. And I think I waited like a week and a half, even maybe 2 weeks before I even started, because I was like so nervous. I didn't know how to tackle it. But as soon as I started, it all started to make sense, right? I started to pull the information and go through it, and it started to flow, and then leverage the AI a lot to help me like with the verbiage, to help me get my points across in a concise way that align with the story I wanted to tell. So my best advice is start.
Yeah, go ahead, Kai.
No, go for it.
Okay, I would say after, you create your first draft of your case study, make sure that other people give you feedback on it as well, like talk to your peers. Also, like the design community is very open and welcoming, and there will be people that will give you some feedback on it. So reach out to people on the Slack, Discord, ADP list to get that feedback.
Anything else you wanted to add, Kai?
Yeah, I just wanted to share just a pro tip on using ChatGPT for this process is like helping ChatGPT help you. So I don't know how advanced people are or new, but you'll hear this term like a prompt, like engineer, like a prompt hat. You can work with ChatGPT to help you write that prompt, which is like saying, hey, I am working on a case study. Can you help me can you help me ask you how to write a good case study about this and achieve these results? And you'll workshop like the best thing to start that process. And I can send an example later in the chat so that people can give it a try.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much for all those pieces of tips. And I'm someone who keeps procrastinating my portfolio and my case studies. So this is like, now I can just be brave and actually get started because I have not gotten started. So this is good for me personally. And I know Kai mentioned AI, ChatGPT being one of the tools, and so we can kind of transition into talking more about that. Obviously, AI has sort of exploded in the consciousness, and there's a lot of excitement and also a lot of anxiety, and also just a lot of people wanting to learn more about what this actually means. So what were some of your reactions to learning the power of AI and other no-code tools? And has your response changed over time as you've worked with it or learned more or seen it influence the industry? And we can start with Rebecca this time.
Yeah, so I remember when it first started becoming like a buzzword, and some people were like really scared, and they start off with saying like, oh, it's coming for my job, what am I gonna do? And I never felt that way. I was always very curious about it, and to be fair, I use it so much today. I use it to learn new concepts, to help me write better, to be more concise. I can't even imagine doing my day-to-day without it. So I think if anything, it's made me feel like it is such an amazing tool that UX designers should be leveraging every single day for every part of their design process, but during their discovery especially. So I feel like my thoughts on it have definitely gotten stronger in a positive way, and it has the opportunity to really transform the industry and help designers just be better, more technical, and just like level up their skills.
Yeah, do others have other additional thoughts?
Yeah, Yeah, my initial reaction was I was scared. Um, so I think I was a graphic designer at an insurance company, and I saw Dolly. If people don't know what Dolly is, it's an AI image generator. You just write a description and it makes an image. And I was like, wow, yeah, we don't need Photoshop anymore, right? Like we have this tool. I need to figure out how to become somebody that can actually utilize their like soft thinking skills and be able to put data to the designs that I'm making, and AI helps with that. I think about how when Photoshop came out, there were a lot of film photographers that are like, no, I'm not going into that. Like I'm keeping it true to the craft. I don't think that there is like a friction against UX design and AI. I think they go hand in hand, and being able to leverage it now will do wonders for your career.
Yeah, to add on to that, I didn't feel like threatened by the AI because I always just thought, you still need the human behind the AI. Like it might be able, it can read the data and give you insights on it, but you still need that human like emotion and motivators and understand the behaviors and be that user advocate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important to highlight the part that we still play to curate what you're asking, and also to sift through the information and make sure it's what you want. There still is a lot of editorial and thought behind it, and so it's not this kind of it's not necessarily completely transactional in that way. And what were you going to say, Rebecca?
I was just gonna like hearing them talk reminded me that we actually started training our designers, our community, on how to use ChatGPT during the discovery phase, and we put together a series of prompts that kind of helps them to be able to do it faster. And but it's really like a tool. It's really just something, an assistant that helps them do their job more efficiently, rather than someone that's like replacing them. And it's changing that conversation, right? Talking about it, showing them how to use it, and sending them off to have fun.
Yeah, I know the UX team at the library, we had like a first encounter with AI yesterday. We haven't incorporated it into our workflow, but one of our colleagues used like a photo plugin in I'm not gonna use the right words, but a photo plugin in ChatGPT. And we have this whiteboard where we ask students to give sticky notes and give feedback on different prompts to give us user feedback. And it takes a long time to transcribe all those sticky notes and write up our research findings, but he used the photo plugin to be able to say how many sticky notes were on it, what the responses were. And like, even that, I was like, oh my God, that would save me so much. So yeah, so I think thinking about what works for you and thinking of it as a tool rather than something that can replace you and your thought and the soft skills that you bring to the workplace is like an interesting shift in mind. So, and following that, how can a UX beginner utilize AI in their workflow? And on the other end, more seasoned professional, do you see different uses for AI depending on what stage of the career that you're in and how familiar you might be with those tools? We can start with Kai again this time.
Sure. For people just beginning, I would recommend ChatGPT or Bard, any of those that you can just chat in. And doing competitive research is so much faster. I know before all this, you would have to go to each individual website and then like figure out all the features and put it into this big chart. ChatGPT can do that for you and also lay it out really organized. And I think layering your chats, knowing that your chats have history. So you can ask ChatGPT, please give me 10 user research interview questions. Okay, answer that with an empathy map. Okay, now take that data and then you'll be able to find a lot of these different I guess series of prompts. So I would say test that out with your next case study. For a seasoned professional, you can use custom AI models to, I guess, predict user behavior. There's an A/B testing website called evolve.ai, where you can get some A/B testing on your site. And then using voice or gesture recognition interfaces with AI can speed up your work. If anyone has used like Alexa or something, just imagine that with AI.
Any other thoughts?
I think there's two other tools that they can try if they're a little bit more novice and they want to simulate some user interaction. So there's one called Maze.design, and we can drop all of these for you guys after, but Maze.design, Playbook UX, those are some that they can kind of like start playing around with and start getting comfortable with how AI works and how they can implement AI into their daily UX activities.
Yeah, and I would say using also AI art to Midjourney, DALL-E, all of those.
Definitely.
Yeah, are there any words of caution or just things to keep in mind around like the ethics of AI for people who are just getting to know? Like, are there things that you would really be like, oh, but it'd be great to keep this in mind when thinking through some of the, I have half a mind in my UX role and half a mind as a creative writer, and I think sometimes those get conflicted with thinking about AI. And so I wonder if you have also thought through like some limitations or things that you've just would bring up to folks who are getting used to AI for the first time to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think it's important to figure out like what kind of work you're doing, because I know that with certain companies you sign an NDA, the data that goes into ChatGPT is collective and used for research. So if you're using it on the job, make sure that's okay first. And yeah, whenever you run a chat through ChatGPT, it is essentially searching the whole internet. So the internet as a whole is biased. It's just like taking the collection of a lot of data and like giving it back to you. So you need to discern that. And also, if you're putting it into a case study, someone may ask, where did you get this data? So definitely like research what has been given to you before just putting it out there.
Yeah, always check your resources, right? Make
Yeah.
sure that it's coming from something that is real, peer-reviewed, and on a journal. If you're putting it out there, especially if you're using stats like for a specific company and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think the one more thing I will add is that this is not meant to replace user feedback loops. So it's meant to give you additional data points, and it's really a great tool, but you should still be talking to your users and getting real feedback and seeing them use the product.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm appreciating how much I'm learning about AI and all the different tools and all the different capacities. So thanks so much for sharing everything that is possible with the tools and thinking about all the questions that come along with it. The final question from me before we turn it to the audience is, we've talked a little bit about this the entire conversation, but what opportunities and challenges do you think AI brings to the UX design industry overall?
I think like for AI, it is something that it just started. Well, it hasn't just started, but we've seen it being used more with ChatGPT just a couple months ago, right? So this is something that's going to be ongoing in the future for sure. And it's definitely helped companies be better with like automation and make things more efficient. I believe that there's going to be more, you're going to be able to get your customer support right away within 24/7. There's an AI chatbot ready to answer any questions that you have. And this will increase more like tech adoption. Like your mom will be able to use it, your parents, maybe your grandparents, more people getting into the tech space for sure. So that means more users, right? So more UX designers are going to be needed in the future for sure to be able to advocate for our users.
Yeah, I think one area that I see as having a really big potential is that AI and human collaboration. So it's going to be the designer leveraging the potentials of AI to just like be more efficient and using its strengths, but still applying its own human judgment to the information that it's getting. Everyone that is using AI in that way, I think is going to be able to just be at least one level higher in their skills, but probably so much more. And if you're learning AI now, you're so ahead of the game. Because believe it or not, the percentage of people that are using it is still so small. So even just being on this call right now and us having this conversation, it puts you so far ahead. So keep exploring it. And I think you're gonna end up like finding a lot of uses, probably beyond what we're talking about.
Yeah, I totally agree about the opportunities that AI brings to companies in terms of like, 24/7 tech support automations. I do think that individuals are like, one, they can utilize it and leverage it on their own, but I do think there is a valid concern in these automations threatening some UX jobs. I think that UX is a relatively new field and there's a lot of value from it, but some companies, big companies, they like want it, but they don't quite understand it, nor do they give like the designers enough power to leverage their research and implement it. So I think that we're going to have to show our value in many ways. And by getting ahead of the curve, by creating like case studies to the dream job that you want to be in, by saying, I've studied your problems, and this is how I'm going to fix it. And this is how I've used AI to find those problems. Like that is what is going to get your foot into the door. I do think it will be more competitive.
No, I really appreciate it. And then, yeah, there can sometimes be a mismatch between how leadership sees the power of AI and how we as the creators are seeing it as a tool, and being able to affirm what we bring to the table and how we're using these tools and how we add value as creators, I think is a really important balance to strike. And it's important to remember to kind of validate what we're bringing to the table and to make sure that we're clarifying that. So yeah, thanks for adding that. One question from the chat is that, as you already have shared, Sprintfolio is really one of the leaders in merging AI and UX, which is really cool to learn about. And I've learned so much from this conversation. And so what is the next big thing that you all are working on? And where do you want to go next?
Any volunteers? No problem, I will go first. So we've touched on this briefly already, but the biggest thing that we're working on right now is our AI-powered design school, which pretty much will allow designers to build case studies 10 times faster using AI. But the goal is to take this product and make it so that anyone that uses this can be working on real problems for an industry that are really passionate about, and that they can then take that case study and send it to a person at that company and be like, hey, I built this, I'm solving a problem for your industry because I'm interested in it. And this is how I think about the problem. They can kind of land a job in that way. So reimagining how they're applying for jobs. That's the ultimate goal for the product. But V1 is starting now with case studies, and hopefully sometime next year we'll get to the V2.
Yeah, we're also going to release one of our Notion templates that helps designers and builders collaborate by guiding them through their design sprints in a 2-week increment. So basically like how we started, but now it's all in a Notion template for them.
Well, we're like the biggest fans of Notion. So
nice.
Yeah, kind of the Notion template, we're on board. Awesome. Another question from the chat is, how do you envision the role of AI in shaping user experiences? So more from the user perspective. I know you mentioned maybe like chat and like customer support, but what are some other ways that you see users being impacted by AI in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think there will be more personalization, for sure. And that might be kind of creepy. but also it might be like it's going to be a better experience if the website understands you better and your needs and can get you through the experience and journey much faster.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Cool. I think we can probably take a couple more. So another one I see in the chat is, what advanced techniques or tools would you recommend for experienced ChatGPT users looking to dive deeper into AI? If that was their entry point, where else would you recommend that they go from there?
I think some good ones are like the role playing for user personas. So you have to have a little bit more of an understanding of kind of prompt engineering. But that's something that if you tried it out a little bit, you can start playing with it. Scenario creation, which is going to be very similar, where you can ask ChatGPT to create user scenarios for you, and then that can help you guide your design, and maybe simulate some feedback as well. So give ChatGPT some information about your user testing, some information about your design elements, and have it simulate some feedback based on that as a user. I think that those could be some good things that someone that's played around with ChatGPT a bit can start doing.
Yeah, there's also Uizer. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, that one, Uizer. We'll type it up. It's pretty similar to like Framer AI, where you just describe an app and it's gonna give you a whole like UX flow, which is very interesting. And then of course there's also like for Framer, they are incorporating AI tools so you can describe like what type of website you want and it'll give you the website already outlined. Do recommend to, keep building off of that. Just don't rely on the AI. Build to what you need.
Yeah, one thing I would add is if you're a seasoned designer that's working with a developer and you're running into problems where you need your developer to do something, I'm pretty sure that ChatGPT can help you with it. There's a new feature called Code Interpreter. So yeah, I do think UX designers do not need to learn how to code, but having some fundamentals in like understanding it and using ChatGPT as your tutor will like be really, really good.
Yeah, great. These are all, good things to check out. I think I see at least one more question from Deyanira. While incorporating AI into design workflows has a great potential to enhance creativity and efficiency, could you share insights on how to ensure that AI isn't a form of plagiarism or an easy way out for people drafting, write-ups of their projects, and for those who might believe it's not quite ethical to use these tools?
Yeah, I think you have to check your sources, and that's something you should be doing anyways, even if you're not using ChatGPT, right? But you have to check your sources, and sometimes you can have ChatGPT help you with that, believe it or not, especially now that it's got access to the internet again, the current internet. I've used it to be like, hey, where did you get this number? Give me the exact article and the quote where you found it, and then I will go and look at it based on what he told me. So you could literally use it as an assistant, and don't be afraid to ask it questions, and remind it that it can also ask you questions, because ChatGPT will make stuff up if it doesn't have all the information, which increases the likelihood that it's going to give you information that is incorrect or that is biased. So remind it that it can ask you questions if it doesn't know, but then go back and confirm any data that you're using from it.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like people who might think it's plagiarism or the ethical concerns, it is contentious. I will remind people that people thought calculators was cheating, right? So it's a matter of like knowing that it's just somebody's opinion too.
Is there anything else you want to add, Angie, to that?
Yeah, I mean, if you feel uncomfortable, you can say, hey, I leveraged AI, I use ChatGPT to help me with this. I mean, I think that's perfectly fine to say if you want to make sure it doesn't come off as plagiarism as well.
Yeah, thank you. These are all really helpful nuances to keep in mind, and I appreciate you all being candid and thinking through that. I think we have one more question that we can wrap up with, and then I also know you all wanted to invite people to possibly give feedback on something that you're working on. So last question from the chat is, for someone new to the intersection of AI and UX, what would be a simple yet impactful way to start integrating AI into your projects?
ChatGPT, Midjourney, those are going to be the easiest way. And I think that the discovery phase of the UX process is the one where you could leverage it the most, especially when you're starting out. And you just have to start trying it. Just like sign up for an account and start asking it questions. You'll pick up on it pretty quickly when you start to ask the questions, the tone it has. And you can start working on that history, like I had mentioned earlier, by asking it to give you the answer again, but in a different way, giving it more information, seeing how the answers change. ChatGPT is super powerful, and it's a great way for everyone to just start getting comfortable with it.
Yeah, I would also add that Midjourney has, or no, Stable Diffusion has prompts that you can also use. There's a whole like guidebook online, or even for ChatGPT, right? There's like all these new guidebooks and different tools to help you become a better prompt engineer, prompt generator, not only for ChatGPT, but also for all these for Midjourney as well.
Yeah, I'll add that if you've already created your case study or portfolio project, you can go into ChatGPT, make sure the plugins are turned on. Sometimes it's in your settings, sometimes it's already there depending on when you signed up. There's one that's like internet reading, or I know Rebecca showed it to me, but
you can share it.
You can input the link to your case study and say, hey, you're a UX manager with 5+ years of experience. Please review my case study. And then it'll give you a pretty good review. And then you can iterate from there.
Nice. Yeah, these are all giving me ideas about how to explore more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, so I know I said the last question, but Brittany, one of the organizers, actually had a question, so I wanted to invite her to go off mic and share, and then we'll let you guys wrap up.
Sure. Yes. Kai, something you mentioned, and can you hear me okay? Okay. Kai, something you mentioned, so I work in career space and work with a lot of students and interns. And so one of the things I'm curious about is you mentioned like, oh, some people thought the calculator was cheating. And I know some people, you talked about your attitudes with integrating AI into your design process, but I'm not sure if everyone feels that way. So I'm curious with professionals out there and they're sharing their processes and their case studies and their journeys, like in an interview process or as they're networking, like how much should they share integrating these AI tools as part of their process? You know what I mean? It's like you want to be honest about your process, but also not wanting to be, I don't know, like disadvantaged for people who don't share the same more embracing attitude of AI tools as you are. Like, how do you balance that in the sharing of your story?
Yeah, Brittany, thank you. That's such a good question. And I think y'all being in an academic setting like makes sense about that hesitation, because there's a lot of research that happens at universities. So yeah, thinking about your environment in a startup like environment, with new emerging tech, it's more welcoming. Also, there isn't a lot of budget to UX in general, for these startups that are started with one developer and then they like pull in the designer later. So I think know your environment, and like speak to the audience. I think in some places it would be really impressive, and in others, yeah, I guess I would just be more I don't know, conservative about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, again, I just wanted to thank you all so much for your time and taking part of your Thursday evening to join us. We really, really appreciate learning from you. And I just thank you so much for all of your insights and sharing your work. And yeah, I just can't thank you enough. I'll let you all share any last thoughts that you have that you want to leave us with. And then if you have any things that you want to share out that we can take a look at moving forward, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to share, we're doing a survey just to understand like what junior designers are going through, how they're learning UX, and we would love to get some responses from this. And we have a bunch of things that we've shared. I don't know if it would be best for us to drop it in now, or if we could send up a follow email with the resources that we've mentioned.
Yeah, that's a great question. I can definitely make sure to respond to anyone who registered on Meetup with the ask. I'm not sure I will have everyone's emails. If you want to drop in the chat right now, that might be a good call. And then I can definitely drop it on our Meetup event and also on the UX at UA Slack.
Okay, yes.
Awesome.
I will drop in a bunch of links right now. That is the A/B testing tool that I mentioned. And then the pro tip for asking ChatGPT how to ask it a question is here.
And I'll send you, Kai, the plugin as well you can add.
Okay, and then let me grab our survey.
Awesome. So yeah, in the chat, Kai just shared a couple of resources that they mentioned throughout the conversation and also the survey link to give them feedback. And it'd be a great thank you for all their time and insights today. So I encourage everyone to do that. And there's also good discussion about, yeah, integrating AI tools and not coming from a place of fear when thinking about that. So thanks for the follow-up comments that people are sharing. I will make sure to grab the survey link afterwards, and I can definitely, do my best to follow up with the people here and make sure that gets out. And Isaac is saying that the survey says he needs permission, so I'm not sure if there's other settings. And so,
okay, let me make sure that it's public. Okay, let's see. I remember that this happened to you, Rebecca, at one point.
Yeah, I'm looking in my notes. Take a look.
Because it doesn't have like the private thing, or is it under settings? Sorry, guys.
it's okay. We can definitely figure out a way. I'm pretty sure people can register on Zoom to attend, so I probably just need to think more through like how I can make sure I can get out to people. And also if they save the link, it might still be good even if you change the permission settings. So
yeah.
But yeah, I'll just wrap up and say if this is your first UX at UA event, we really appreciate you joining us. You can follow us on Meetup or also join our Slack channel to find out about more events. We're on the semester schedule, but we try to host 3 events, a mixture of remote and in-person every semester. We talk about all sorts of things and invite different topics. So we hope to see you again. And thank you again so much for joining us. And we really appreciate it. And everyone take care.
Thank you so much. We had so much fun.
Thank you. It was awesome.
I was so cool to meet you guys. Thank you so much for everything.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.